Hi everyone, welcome back to the Movie Reviewers 100. My name is Scott. I'm part of this collaboration channel along with 6 other guys. I post videos on Thursdays, and I am therefore wrapping up our theme this week, which is on Robert Rodriguez. And I have elected to talk about the 2005 film Sin City, which Rodriguez co-directed with Frank Miller. Frank Miller, of course, is the author of the graphic novels upon which this film is based. There are 7 books, I believe, 6 or 7, and then another book of short stories, one of which was included in Sin City. It's called The Customer's Always Right. But the principal stories in the Sin City movie are the Big Fat Kill, That Yellow Bastard, and The Hard Goodbye, which is this book right here that was included in the set. This is probably my favorite DVD set of all the ones that I've ever seen, basically. If you look at some of the images right here, you'll actually see specific instances where the shots are replicated in the movie, and they try to do that as much as possible. This shot right here is in the film, and so is this shot right here. What Rodriguez wanted to do when he was convincing Frank Miller to make this film, because Frank Miller really didn't want to do it all that much. He preferred, just to stay a comic book. He said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to translate your images into the movie, and I'm going to basically not even write a script, but just use the books as the script/storyboard and recreate as many of the images as I possibly can with my HD cameras in my studio at my home, and then add all the backgrounds and all the effects and everything like that, and play with the color and turn it to black and white and make sure that it looks as much like the movie as the book as possible. So Frank Miller at that point was on board. Rodriguez showed him a few test shots, and they practiced with a scene. And so Frank Miller's like, yeah, I'm totally on board with this. But they encountered a problem with the DGA, the Directors Guild of America, which is the union that all the Hollywood directors belong to. They have these rules in place to make sure that directors who are novices or maybe don't have a lot of pull in the industry aren't forced to share the director credit with, say, producers or even studio executives, because they could potentially get bullied into doing that. However, this makes it difficult for director teams to get appropriate credit. There was a movie called Euro Trip, which came out in 2004, and there were 3 directors on it, and they basically had to do rock, paper, scissors or something to determine which one of them would get the credit. With the Coen brothers, Joel, for many years, got the director credit, whereas Ethan got the producer credit, and they both were credited with writing the script, except that both guys did all 3 of those jobs, and so it wasn't until 2004 that they finally got co-director credit. Now, the Coen brothers probably didn't care that much about the specificity of their credits, but a lot of people do, of course. Whenever you think of the Coen brothers, you always think of, 2 guys making the movie together, not one of them directing and one of them doing other stuff. They're both making the movie together. And that's what Rodriguez wanted to do with Frank Miller on Sin City. But the DGA is like, no, that's not going to work, so Rodriguez actually left the directors' union. So in this movie, we have an adaptation of essentially 3 of the major books in the series. You have The Hard Goodbye, which is the Mickey Rourke character of Marv as the main character. He's seeking the people responsible for murdering a girl that he met and fell for. He's this big sort of lug of a guy, not terribly smart. Although I have to say, Mickey Rourke's a very, very entertaining guy to watch in this movie. I just love the way he delivers his lines. But I don't feel, after reading the book, that it's entirely appropriate to the character. He puts this sort of spin on his lines that doesn't seem appropriate to Marv, because Marv is not someone who's all that intelligent, it seems. Whereas Mickey doesn't play him quite as dumb as he is. It's really funny as Frank Miller, after meeting Mickey Rourke and hearing him talk, was just like, oh, he's perfect for Marv. I just don't see it, though. If you read the book, you wouldn't think that he is just like the most clever guy around. Whereas Mickey Rourke plays him with sort of self-deprecating humor, or just someone who's always sort of underestimating his own intelligence when really he is actually a clever guy, for the most part. But it's a fun story, and especially he has like the best moment in the movie, his last scene when he's strapped in the electric chair, and the priest is reading him his last rites. He's like, will you get a move on? I haven't got all night. It's just a riot. One of the funniest bits in the movie. The second story stars Clive Owen as Dwight. and he is trying to prevent Benicio Del Toro and his buddies from roughing up women, and that leads to a whole bunch of trouble. This is actually my favorite story in the series. I think it's the most well written. It's really outrageous, but it's really cool. And you have also one of the better performances in the film from Rosario Dawson, who plays Gail, who's the leader kind of the women of Old Town. Old Town is a section of Basin City, as they call it, or Sin City is what they've nicknamed it, where the prostitutes basically enforce their own brand of justice, and the cops stay out, which leaves them, as they say, free to keep the pimps and the mobs out. If they don't have to worry about the cops basically enforcing laws in their part of town, then they can, carry as many firearms as they want, and they can keep the bad elements away, and they can be their own bosses. And the trouble starts when that might all go away, so Dwight needs to help them as best as he can and keep them safe. So yeah, that's a really good storyline right there. There's a large number of actors in that. You've got Alexis Beldel and Brittany Murphy, of course. Brittany Murphy appears in all three stories. Even though she only shot for one day on the set. It's one thing that Rodriguez talked about in the special features is the fact that he could shoot very quickly, and because most of it was on a just a blank stage, he can change things around as much as possible and just add in the backgrounds afterwards. It's very convenient. He only really built one full set for the film, which is the bar where Jessica Alba and Brittany Murphy both work, and there's also kind of a half set for other, parts of the of different scenes. For Brittany Murphy's apartment, they basically constructed 2 walls, and the rest of it is all computer graphics. And there's a few other elements like that, props and what have you, a chair, couch, a table, something like that. But for the most part, everything after that is filled in. And that allows him to control the image as much as possible. The third storyline is Bruce Willis trying to protect Nancy, played by Jessica Alba, from a really nasty character. And this is a pretty disgusting story. It's kind of queasy, really. And the yellow bastard of the title is this guy who's really kind of deformed and smells really bad, and he's just a really sick character. The whole story is really sick, actually, because she goes from being this 11-year-old girl who he's protecting, and then as he's in prison, basically, 8 years later, she's 19, and at that point he falls in love with her, which is really weird. And she's been in love with him this whole time. One of the reasons why I don't like this story as much as the others is Jessica Alba. She she's just not a very good actress. I mean, there are a bunch of different scenes where her eyes are just kind of blank. She smiles when she's supposed to. She says lines okay for the most part, and she's very pretty, but, you don't see it in her eyes all that much. Michael Madsen is also pretty bad in the movie. He's very stiff. But most of the other actors are really good. I went with my dad to see it when it came out in the theater, and the only actor that he recognized in the whole movie was Bruce Willis, which is kind of cool. There's a whole bunch of new faces in that. New to him, anyway, at the time. Rodriguez had a lot of fun with this as far as the image goes. He wanted to replicate Frank Miller's images as much as possible, I said, but he also started playing around with color. A flame has color in it, blood has color in it, eyes, or different props like a lipstick or the bottle that pills are in. Certain lights are colored, and just playing around with that is really cool. Most of the images are in black and white, but there's a lot of just little bits of color here and there, which is a really cool idea. It's a dazzling movie to look at, and I really cannot wait to see the new one. The new one's going to be really exciting, especially since Eva Green from Casino Royale has been cast as the femme fatale in A Dame to Kill For. I was thinking, gee, it would be really good if they cast her in that part because she'd be awesome in it. And then a few days later, Rodriguez announced that she was the character, and it was just like, oh, that's so perfect, just amazing. So yeah, some of the other features on this disc are they have the theatrical cut in the movie with a commentary, but they've also got a track in which you can hear the audience reacting to the movie during its premiere. I haven't checked that out, but it sounds fun. They also have these stories broken into their individual parts with extra scenes added, so you get a more complete version of each story, but they're individualized. You can program your DVD player to play them all in a row, or what I like to do sometimes is to program the chapters to skip back and forth between the stories, so it's like one big long thing. That's fun. He's also got a great behind-the-scenes feature that runs about 15 minutes, and it shows basically all the different tricks that he used to put the movie together and put the images together. There's featurettes on Tarantino, I think, and on just the props and vehicles and costumes, things like that. He also has a sped-up version of the entire movie with no effects in it, just basically the green background. So if you have a slow motion on your DVD player, you can watch them in almost regular speed. But it's fun to see all those shots basically without any manipulation. I would like to see the Avengers without any CGI in it. I would love to see the Avengers cut without all the graphics in there. That would be kind of fun to see that, because I know there's a lot of animation in that movie. Iron Man, the Hulk, plus most of the backgrounds and battle scenes. All of New York during the battle scene is CGI practically, except for a few sets. Yeah, Sin City is far and away my favorite DVD package. This feature doesn't have... this particular edition is a Region 1 non-Blu-ray, and it has actually a couple more features than the Blu-ray does and the overseas version does, so that's a little disappointing for people who can't watch this one, or don't want to, whatever. I don't know why they would remove chapter breaks from the Blu-ray, but apparently they did. I asked a friend of mine about that. So, thank you very much for watching. We've got a new theme starting tomorrow. Be sure and take a look at this if you're interested in seeing the new movie this October. I, for one, am very, very excited about it. Thank you for watching again. Be sure to check out the other guys' videos, and I'll see you again real soon.